Hello everyone and welcome to the F1 Esports Series Pro Championship. You think we have an audience in here? Welcome back. It's a clean slate. There's 0 points for all the drivers and we are here for our first qualifying show of the season. Now, of course, there is a man alongside me who is part of the furniture, integral to the series. The foundations would fall apart without you, Nick. Wow. How are you, Mr. Nick Hamilton? You good?
I'm not too bad, thank you, Matt. How are you?
I'm very well. I don't know why I'm hyping you up so much because I have a bone to pick with you in a minute. But how are you? Are you looking forward to the season ahead?
I am indeed. I'm back. I've been brought for my second season for the Pro Series or Pro Championship. They had me back. Yeah, they must like me. But no, I'm really, really excited. As you said, it's a clean slate. 0 points for absolutely everybody. New rosters or new drivers on rosters or moved from different teams. So let's see who comes out on top. I'm really excited.
Now, I mentioned about the bone to pick, Nick. Let's just watch this message very quickly that you left for myself and the preview show. It was quite the...
And Matt Gallagher apparently cannot do the quali show without me. Apparently they say he's quite useless. I said, well, he's pretty useless with me, let alone without me. So, yeah, I've got to do a lot of carrying, I guess, and try and get him up to, you know, a decent enough standard.
Now, does being mean come naturally to you, Nick? Or was that scripted? Or did it just come out? You just thought of me and thought, you know what, I'm going to abuse him?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I feel a little bit awkward because I wasn't expecting to
reveal
watch
it right
that.
Now. Yeah.
But with you next
it's
to me.
karma, mate. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
we have to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it did just come out. It's sort of what I felt at the time. Obviously, I do love you, Matt.
Okay.
But you know, this show is also, you know, sort of my show, and
it's your show.
It is my show.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But it's good to have you back anyway.
Thank
Nick.
you.
Yeah,
On my own show.
What are you looking forward to the most about this season?
What I'm looking forward to most is to see whether fresh faces, fresh drivers coming into the championship can, you know, hold their own against the most experienced drivers in the championship. I think it'll be really good to see for the championship as a whole, you know, for new drivers to come in and really take it to the guys that have been here for a long time. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if Jarno Opmeer can retain his title. He was pretty formidable, wasn't he, last season? But maybe it's time for another person to shine. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Let's take a look at the event schedule and the races that we have coming up and take a look at that, Nick. We've got some new tracks for this year. Of course, starting out with Bahrain, China and Austria for event 1, but Imola's there. I mean, what's taking your fancy?
Well, there's 3 circuits there. We've got Austin, we've got Portimao, and we've got Imola, which has obviously got a lot of history. I think they're going to be 3 fantastic circuits, and obviously Zandvoort as well with that new banked final corner. I think there's a lot to look forward to, and it's going to be fantastic, I'm sure.
Yeah, it certainly will. Let's take a look at when this is happening. Of course, event 1, that's where we are right now, and runs all the way through to December the 16th. But we're going to get a pretty good idea by the end of this month, Nick, as to who are potential championship favourites, protagonists as well. It should be quite an eventful October.
Yeah, for sure it will be. I think it's great also to have, you know, so many consecutive events as well, because if you haven't had the best of starts to the season, you know, the next event is in 2 weeks or so, and you're already warmed up and ready to go.
Now, we're not the only ones excited ahead of this season. We've also got some social media roundup for you, and starting with Mr. Lucas Blakely from the Aston Martin team. It's race week, let's get to work. And that is a serious face, Nick, if I've ever seen it. He means business this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he enjoys his job. By that picture, you don't think he would. But it shows that, you know, he's really trying to be a force to be reckoned with this year. He's got things to do for himself that I'm sure he's going to be proud of.
There's Johnny Tormala with a Squid Game reference, my face when race week. A lot of race week memes coming out from the F1 Esports drivers, and Johnny looking forward to a new season ahead. Can he do a little bit better than maybe he expected to do last year? Sauber Esports. Guys, it's race week. A lot of excitement in the air. Of course, it's such an opportunity, isn't it, Nick, to start afresh. Maybe some teams had a bit of a worse season last year and want to pick up the pace for this time. And finally, the reigning champion, Jarno Opmeer, with a very it's race week, almost 1,000 likes. And it's interesting to see, I think, over this sort of transition between last season and this season, a big thing that I've noticed is the Otmirs, the Marcel Kiefers. They've been streaming a lot and actually got quite a significant fan base behind them, which I haven't noticed as much until this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think Twitch is such a fantastic platform, isn't it, for people that want to get into gaming or already love gaming, and also see drivers, you know, like Marcel Kiefer and Jarno Otmir, almost in their own world, you know, away from the racing side of things, like real competitive. You actually get to watch them and see how it is to almost be them, almost. And I think it's great for the championship, great for those drivers as well to have, you know, fantastic following. And I think it's good for F1 esports as a whole, for everybody to get behind and be supportive.
It certainly is. Let's have a refresher of what the format looks like ahead of qualifying. And, well, if you're a fan of Formula One, you'll know this very well indeed, as it's the same as real life, Q1, Q2, Q3. And, of course, the slowest 5 get dropped out in Q1, then another 5 in Q2, and then finally, the top 10 shoot it out for pole position. And I love this format, Nick. I think it really does just ask a lot of the drivers, because I guess if you had like a 15-minute quali and that's it, you could almost fluke a good lap time, couldn't you, and get near the front. But with this, you have to perform in Q1, Q2 and Q3 to be anywhere near the front.
Yeah, I'm all about simulation and realism. And as you said, you know, the Q1, Q2, Q3 is the same format as real life. And these drivers really have to perform in every session. And on one slip up, you know, one moment where they lock a left front or a right front wheel or struggle for traction, and they could be out of Q1 pretty quickly.
OK, the time is upon us. Let's take a look at what happened in qualifying for round 1, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And we are already into Q1. Of course, this is highlights as the drivers come out of the pits. And of course, this one, it's the first qualifying of the season, Nick. You just want to get through Q1 and really settle yourself in to the season. We see Brendan Lee here coming over the line on the medium tyres. Of course, tyre selection still crucial in the esports world as well as the real life world. So they try and save some tyres for later on. But here we have Marcel Kiefer maybe struggling a little bit through Q1.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Marcel Kiefer not as fast as we've been used to seeing him in previous times, just managing to get through there.
I enjoyed how covert he was with the holding of the mouth there to make sure we don't know what he's saying. But there you go, Q1 over. Weigang, Tomei, Schutt, Van Erven and Romanidis were the bottom 5 in that particular session. We come into Q2 now. And it's the end of Q2, and you can see Danny Moreno has not set a lap time yet, leaving it to the very last minute to set a lap time in that Mercedes. Pops himself in P5, which, surprisingly, puts the likes of Kiefer, Rasmussen right on the cusp. Brendan Lee comes over, doesn't make it through, the 2-time champ. Rasmussen doesn't either. Marcel Kiefer. So both Red Bulls, the reigning team champions, out in Q2. What a surprise that was.
Yeah, that's incredible, really. But you look how close it is. What is it, 1/10 of a second separating the top 10?
That's insane, isn't it? I know, like last year we asked for close times. I was never pleased, but that I am very pleased about. And Q3, there we are then. So Barry Burman putting in the fastest time with just under 5 minutes to go. Danny Moreno surpasses him at the top of the leaderboard. And here comes Lucas Blakely, who then takes the top of the timesheets with a 1:25 flat, but Longuet displaces him. And that is pretty much that. Apart from Burman, he has one final go, one final bite at the cherry, comes over the line and slots himself into P3. So Longuet, Blakely, and you'll see the rest of them here. Burman, Moreno, Caraton, Otmir, our reigning champ, down in 6th. Tanitsa, the year before's champ, in 8th. We've got a bit of a mix-up on our hands, haven't we?
Yeah, but you just said it's like, you know, Otmir down in 6th, but, you know, he's less than a 10th behind P1. So he's not down anywhere, really, is he? He's still on pace. But yeah, I mean, it's a bad day, I would say, for Brendan Lee. He's not necessarily going to be happy, but Fredrik Rasmussen as well, down in P14. So it's been an interesting qualifying already for Bahrain.
It has indeed, and I think obviously Red Bull was the team that we expected to be pretty quick, straight out the blocks, both out in Q2. It's quite surprising, because you'd think, you know, round 1, you want to just set yourself alight, get into Q3, not literally.
Set yourself alight.
You know, like be quick, like scorching times. I don't know exactly where I was going with that. But you know what I mean. But be quick, get into Q3, set some foundations for the rest of the season. You're enjoying that one.
I did, it was good.
But they didn't make it through, so how will they pick themselves back up?
Well, this is where experience comes in at the end of the day, doesn't it? You know, the Red Bull guys have been around for a while, and they didn't have. It wasn't always plain sailing, wasn't it, last year for them? They worked well as a team, didn't they? Many times last year. So I think, as I said, experience is going to count for absolutely everything, and you know they're going to have to fight in the race, aren't they?
They will indeed. We've added a new segment to this quali show, and that's Nick's segment, where we're going to be analysing some qualifying lap times, and we're going to have two on screen right about now, which I believe is Otmir and Tanitsa. So take us through it. 28 thousandths between them. Where's the time won and lost, Nick?
I don't think I'm going to be able to spot any time whatsoever here. Both drivers looking absolutely sorted into turn one. You can see how they maximise all of the track width, especially into turn three. This is turn three because turn two was that right kink. The amount of commitment these guys show and the perfection on each corner and apex and through the high speed, right and left. There hasn't even been a slight mistake at all from both drivers.
And I guess with this, you're saying, there's no mistake by either of the drivers, and they're 6th and 8th on the grid. What is pole position?
So there's one person even in between these two.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But no, obviously that corner before, you always want to make sure you get great traction on exit. But these guys don't look like they're struggling at all in terms of that, and a lot of commitment into the left-hander, and this is a flat right-hander as well. And as I said, I'm pretty much just going to make it up because there's been no mistakes from either of the drivers so far. And what I really like is going into this last corner. Look how much they take the mickey through the entry like that, hitting the apex and straight back on power. And yeah, 28 thousandths of a second, which I can't see. It's a blink of an eye.
It really is, and 6th and 8th on the grid for those two. And I guess, we've seen that. It's about 1/10 of a second to pole position. So that's maybe just a little bit more commitment into one of the corners. Where do you think the time, if you were to pick apart in the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit, is a really good place to make up that 1/2 or 1/10?
I think it's down into, was it turn 10, what's the left kink, and then into the hairpin, the double left. Yeah. That's where it can always go wrong, or you can find a lot of time on the way in, but then lose it on the way out. Look at me, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but it's a tough moment for all the drivers, especially first qualifying of the year as well. I think nerves and tension is rising as well, and it's up there because, as you said, you want to set yourself alight, don't you?
It's going to be a running thing though, isn't it? Thanks. So we've taken a look at Otmir and Tanitsa's laps, but we want to see your laps. We've got a hot lap challenge this year, and we want you to send your best lap around Austria, and we could show it on tomorrow's qualifying show. The rules are best time wins. Use hashtag F1 Esports, hashtag Hot Lap Challenge to submit an entry on Twitter. But no career mode cars, guys. Time trial only, no cheating. I look forward to seeing that. And also, I want you to send in your questions, comments, how attractive you think Nick Hamilton is via the Twitch chat or hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter. So that should be good fun, shouldn't it, Nick? I don't know why I included that part, but we want to see some questions in, and you say that you don't know exactly what you're talking about, but you do, mate. You're a veteran of the series now.
I try to, mate. I try to. It's I just wing it most of the time.
You do.
I'm joking.
Speaking of winging it, let's introduce Mr. Tom Deacon. Come on, Tom.
Gonna go quickly.
Yay! Here he is.
We're in. The king of wing.
That wasn't actually my joke. It was the producer in my ear. I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah, he said, speaking of winging it, I apologise. But how are you, Tom? Are you well? Loving the notepad? Loving the outfit? How are you?
I've been prepping, getting ready. I've forgotten my mug. That is something that's happened. If I need refreshment, I will not be having any during the quali show. I'm pumped to be here to work alongside Nick again. He's great.
I love how you've said that, and now someone behind the scenes has started running to get you the mug.
Yes!
Are you looking forward to a new season? It should be. Oh, the mug's coming. Here we go.
Thank you very much. That's the teamwork here. That's Brighty. Excellent team. And when you've got an excellent team, you're going to have an excellent pro championship.
You're trying to bring it back now, aren't you, after demanding a cup of water?
And did you know?
I'm getting nervous. That's the thing.
The quali show's big.
And the quali show, I have to say, is my favourite bit of all of the pro championship because we get to just kick back, relax, watch some amazing drivers try and set the best times and hopefully deliver when it matters tomorrow.
Now, we just watched Nick Hamilton's message to me, but he also said some nasty things to you as well about your fashion, things like that. Do you have anything to respond to Nick about that? I just wanted to make it awkward.
No, nothing. I'm a big fan of Nick's.
OK, good. You actually tried a lot with the outfit today, didn't you? That was the thing.
Well, I got here, I was like, is this OK, Nick? I've gone for a hoodie the same as you.
You had two different outfits as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had two outfits. The first one I came out, he went, nah.
You literally bring your wardrobe, don't you, every time?
Yeah, I basically just opened the doors. I would go, Nick, is this OK? It's like, is a Narnia back there? Why have you brought the whole wardrobe? But anyway, the point is, Nick said this is adequate, so I feel good. Got a pink notebook, which he said is OK. So as long as Nick says it's OK, I feel good. And I'm pumped to be here.
Perfect. Let's bring it back on track now and to the driver lineup for qualifying to see who is going to be tearing around for our entertainment. And I guess the first thing you see on this side is Philipp Schneider is there as well for Alfa Romeo. We've got Sebastian Job, who's a new face on the scene for F1 Esports, getting the main drive. You've got Fabrizio Donoso, of course, returning alongside Nicholas Longate. And then I think FDA Esports team looking very, very strong this year in the hands of Tanitsa and Lee, although probably not the most incredible qualifying that we just saw from Bahrain.
But facial hair-wise,
yeah, oh,
beautiful.
wow.
Hello.
Brendan Lee is making a statement this year. The second page, we have Badia Buramond in that McLaren and Josh Idowu making his debut and swapping out for Danny Beresne. What do you make of that, Nick?
Yeah, big news. I don't think I've seen Danny Beresne miss a race.
I don't think he has. So that's big news for what you laughing at.
I'm just laughing. It's huge news, and the fact that as such an experienced driver is stepping away shows how much obviously Josh and the rest of the team at McLaren feel confident. Or maybe, as we probably alluded to, maybe there's a broken brake pedal.
Yeah, I was going to
somewhere.
say, we never know if just in practice he's gone through his brake pedal. But look, Danny Beresne, a massive veteran, and we said that in the preview show as well, that he'd bring the experience to the team and those two would learn from him. And now he's lost his seat, and those two are driving the McLaren. It just seems a bit strange, doesn't it? Do you reckon these two have actually learnt from Danny?
Definitely. I think Danny has shown a lot of pace and character, hasn't he, over the years. I love his microphone. You remember his microphone?
Yeah, solid
yeah.
work.
I think he sung right up there in the first show. But he actually sung for us, saying, "We are the champions."
Wow.
Yeah, I know, crazy. We've actually got a question in asking what are in the mugs.
Good question. For legal reasons, I can't specify what is there, otherwise I'll get a bad rep and won't get any more presenting jobs. No, it's just water, straight up water, H2O. Got to stay hydrated.
And water for you. So that was
yes. Water.
Wow, what a question. So going into this Chinese Grand Prix qualifying session, Nick, of course, the Shanghai International Circuit. It's one of my favourites. How do you kind of assess that track as a whole? Is it one that you enjoy seeing on the calendar?
Oh, definitely, for sure. There's so many fantastic races through Shanghai, and the circuit's got a bit of everything, hasn't it? Real high-speed entry, slow-speed hairpins, and then, really, really long straights. So DRS might come into play when it comes to the race. But it's one of those circuits, just like pretty much any circuit, obviously, is every corner counts. As soon as you make one mistake, especially in this championship, you're going to find yourself, out of Q1 or out of Q2 pretty quickly. So I'm sure that the lap time's just going to be just as close as we used to seeing it.
Well, the way to not be knocked out in Q1 and Q2 is to watch Gallagher's Guide to China. So let me throw to myself right now, where I take you around China in a very amateur way. Right, so you join me at the Chinese Formula One circuit, the Shanghai International Circuit, one of my favourites on the calendar, actually. And unfortunately, we haven't seen it in real-life Formula One for a while, but we are here for the F1 Esports Pro Championship. And this first corner, you just need patience in an absolute bucket load as you then go to the left-hander as well, which is really tricky under traction. Now it's down, slightly downhill towards this braking zone, just after the 100-metre board. Try and hit the apex if you can. And then again, the back end just wants to jump out of you with no assists. We now come through this really fast left-hander, just a little dab off the accelerator, then into this next right-hander. And now we get to another bit of patience that you need around this Chinese circuit. This left-hander, not too bad, but then this one here, try and just run the car out, keep the momentum, but don't floor it straight away. because you will find yourself on the grass as we now head down one of the longest straights on the Formula One calendar. Open your DRS at the absolute perfect time. Now brake really hard just after the 100-metre board, down to first gear, short shift to second. I've gone a little bit wide because I am an amateur, but that's why I talk about it, not race these days. Now into the final corner, you don't want to throw it away, and you can do if you run just a tiny bit wide. Track limits will bite you, and there is a lap of this amazing, one of my favourites, the Chinese Grand Prix. Well, there you go. That was quite the guide. I'm going to say I lost at least 3 to 4 seconds a lap just from talking. I'm still getting over how well I hit the apex at turn 3, but look, that's about as much as I can give, is about 2 corners well these days. But what did you learn from that, Nick?
That when you talk about track limits, you actually did get done for track limits.
The thing is, right, when you see those time trial clips of me going round and you see those track limit warnings, I'm actually just showcasing how difficult it is for the F1 Esports drivers to keep it within track limits. Now, let's talk about the actual pros who are out on track. Q1 is underway, and we have quite a few on track. Now, I don't see, and we saw it a lot last year in the previous game, intermediate tyres on, but I don't see any of that this year, which is lovely because that made no sense whatsoever. But clearly they're straight out on the medium tyres. Of course, they're going to try and get through Q1 on the medium, so they have more allocation of the softs later on in qualifying. But it should be very interesting. I mean, we've got the likes of Blakely right up there, Longuet showing his qualifying pace from last year and translating it into pole position for round 1. Are we going to see the same in this one, Nick, do you reckon?
Hopefully not. And the reason why I say hopefully not is
you're a Longuet hater.
No, it's not. I'm a Longuet hater. I am a fan of Nicolas Longuet, but I think for championship-wise, especially as it's only round 2, it'd be great to see someone else at the front on pole. But if Longuet can do it again,
be impressive.
Kudos to him, yeah, for sure. Hugely impressive.
Yeah, because I mean, we saw, Tom, the qualifying gaps between, well, I mean, especially in Q1, I think it was, what, a 1/10.5 between the top 15 out of Q1. So one small mistake, and you're in big trouble. Like, you can't be making any mistakes if you want to make it through to the latter stages of qualifying.
Yeah, you need to be driving to perfection, and picking up the point from Nicolas Longuet, said it in the French accent there. He is my pick for this year. I'm going to say it early doors. I've also seen on Twitter that someone says playing bingo currently right now. So if we say a comment, and one of which is I'm rooting for Haas, that is the bingo. So I'll give you one. Now that's what I did last year. I rooted for Haas. So anyone has got the opportunity to deliver this year, but I'm really liking Nicolas. So I'm actually backing him for this qualifying. And I hope, unlike Nick, that he does actually make it to Q3 and delivers again. Why not? Let's have a new champ.
Okay, wow. So you've put all your eggs in Nicolas's basket for the French accent that you decided to put on it.
Does he have a basket at the front of the car?
Aerodynamically, that's probably not.
Okay,
It's probably going to have to be in the cockpit. Anyway, we're chatting absolute rubbish, but that's because there's no lap times on the board just yet. 13 minutes and 40 seconds remaining. We've still got a couple in the pits of Brendan Lee and David Tanitsa. So Ferrari going for a different strategy in Q1, perhaps where they run in the gap, where they don't have to deal with any traffic or anything. Sebastian Job goes fastest at the moment, but of course we've only got 2 lap times, make that 3. Job, Tormala and Presneda are the top 3 at the moment, and then we have Nicolas Longuet going to the top of the timesheets with a 31.5, I believe that is, just ahead of Fabrizio Donoso. So as we see the times kind of tumble in, we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2 and Sector 3. So I wonder if somebody's gone off and any sort of excursion just past the white line, that'll be a track limit violation and they will lose that lap time. So no matter if they have a little spin and just go a little bit wide, don't gain any time or whatever, they will still lose that time. So here comes Lucas Blakely, who was on the front row before, and he goes second fastest at the moment. Remember, this is Q1, so only the bottom 5 don't make it through to Q2, Nick.
I think Lucas Blakely's looking very strong, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's been around, a while. We can see that he's been a very strong driver, hasn't he, recently? And but he's never really seemed to almost get it all together for the Pro Championship. But it's great to see him, really doing a good job in Q1 here.
Yeah, he really did want to improve on last year. He wasn't happy with the results, neither was Daniele Haddad. They know what they've got to do, and they're actually the only team not to change their lineup at all. So you've got Shanaka Clay waiting in the wings as well. So yeah, they've got that consistency. That's something that we chatted about before, Matt, about the fact that they haven't changed anything. They believe in these drivers, and to see him up there delivering this year round, I'm really pumped for him.
Indeed, I've got the iPad of dreams, which tells me all the timings, because I think you'll be probably struggling to see it.
I can't see it.
And also, they put a really strong case around it. What are they trying to say about you, Matt?
I think I'm going to throw it at some point. But Rasmussen's at the top of the timesheets right now, and we have 7 drivers in the 31.5s, all the way from Rasmussen to Idowu. And, well, make that, so 7 at the moment. Right now in the bottom 5, we have Tome van Erven, Brendan Lee, who is still in the pits, as far as I'm aware. So is David Tanitsa. So I wonder if they're just not going for a run and saving a set of tyres, which is confidence from Ferrari, to say the least, to not be going out right now. Perhaps they're just not rushing. It's a very strange strategy to see that, but we didn't see that last year at all, did we? We saw them all just go out in a flurry, get their lap times in, and we saw the picture very quickly.
Maybe this is Ferrari being smarter, or having done their research over the big break, and let's see if it works out for them. But we've seen Brendan Lee, he's pretty good when it comes to delivering under pressure, because a couple of times last season he would make mistakes or a mistake in his first run, and then his second lap counts so much, and he just about scrapes in. So.
He did that for the headlines, didn't he? He knew the cameras were going to be on him. No seconds to go, Brendan Lee pops it P3.
And I think he's got this newfound confidence with the moustache.
Yeah. Which just goes to show that he is feeling confident, and I think there's a fire in his belly, and he wants to prove people wrong. He wants another championship under his belt, and still not gone out, either of them. And David Tanitsa, we know how good he is. So I think they'll push each other on, actually, to get the best out of each other. But they've clearly got a strap here.
Yeah, they definitely do.
And just earlier on, I think it's like working with your teammate. It's not, we've often talked about it last season, about a 1 and 2 driver, who's number 1, who's number 2. I think you need to be both number 1 drivers, if that's possible. And someone like Nicolas Longuet needs Fab Donoso to step up this year to help him out for the team championship as well. So I think there's loads going on for every driver in their head, and trying to get that right strategy at the moment is putting a lot of pressure on them.
It absolutely is, and I suppose as we have gone now to full screen, so I'm sure a lot of people will be thanking the production for getting us off their screens, but we have gone full screen now as we get to the slightly business end of the session. Still got 9 minutes and 18 seconds to go, a lot of time for the drivers to go out there and set a couple more runs. Everybody is in the pits, in fact, so we are getting that lull that we saw at the start of last year, but they were on intermediates instead, but we now see some drivers going out there.
Did you say lull or lull?
A lull.
A lull.
Like a
because there's
lull.
nothing funny yet that's making me laugh out loud at the moment.
And this is why you're in Q1, Tom, because you just pick the beautiful moments to just...
Yeah, because there's nothing really... There's lots happening.
And
I like the fact that Jarno's there. He had pole last year in China, and then went on to absolutely dominate during the race. So, have we already spoken about the Mercedes and how strong they are this year with the roster that they've got?
Have you not been watching the show, Tom? I mean...
No, not to be honest. Like I said, I was very nervous to come here. I nipped off to the toilet, had to take my mic pack off.
I
couldn't breathe. I was, it's a nightmare. But I think they look really, really strong this year. We're just looking at the experience they've got.
Yeah.
Are they more experienced than Ferrari? I mean, again, still Brendan Lee and David Tanitsa, they're out on the track, but still not setting a time. Pressure's on.
Yeah, so they're on outlaps now. And they're out there on the medium tyres, so they clearly feel they didn't need to go out there straight away. I suppose the thinking behind that as well is that the track will evolve. So there is track evolution within the game where it gets faster and faster as the grip is laid down by the tyres. So perhaps they just didn't want to go out straight away. They go out in the middle of the session, track maybe slightly better, and can see what they can put in. Of course, having a banker is quite nice psychologically, isn't it, Nick, to know that if, in the top 5, you're probably not under a huge amount of pressure going into the latter stages of the session. But at the same time, clearly Ferrari think this is the way to go.
Yeah, clearly. I think it's good to see. It's good to see a team standing out and doing something different to the others. And if it goes well, if it goes well for the team generally for both drivers, then you might see that this is what's the word?
A revolution.
Yeah, it's innovative. They've obviously
Pretty
done
much,
something.
that's what I mean.
Revolutionary, yeah.
And everyone's kind of saying,
They might copy it. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
They might copy it.
Well, I hope not, otherwise we're going to have 8 minutes for the rest of the season of no one going out in Q1.
that's brilliant, because then I'll be able to,
You can get your water as well.
Yeah, do that.
Perfect.
Two rookies as well, which I'm just noticing. Like, I'm trying to get my head around all the new drivers. 7 drivers moved between teams, and then 10 are not competing from last year. It's all exciting. Matthias Van Erven, he'll need to improve on that time, and you've also got Josh as well. So it's good to see the rookies doing well at the moment.
Absolutely. So to give you an insight, both Brendan Lee and David Tunitsa have gone 0.4 of a second slower than Rasmussen through the first sector alone. Now, Rasmussen is on his current flying lap, so he is improving out there, but 0.4 of a second in one sector is not going to be the winning combination. Again, 0.4 slower is Tunitsa in the middle sector to Rasmussen, who set purple in both the first and second sectors. You've got Otmir out there as well improving. You have Nicholas Longuet setting the fastest middle sector as well, so they're all improving at the front, but both the Ferraris, unless my maths is really off, they're not going to really set the world alight here. So let's see, Joni Tormela, a 1:30.3. So that just shows the difference between the medium tyres, which everybody's gone out now, and the soft tyre comparison. So the Ferrari, look, David Tunitsa goes second, but that's because he's 1.1 seconds behind Joni Tormela and 1.1 behind Jarno Otmir. So what Ferrari are going to do is do that medium lap, do the in lap and come straight in, bolt on a set of softs and go again. So the difference between the mediums and the softs is enormous, Nick.
Yeah, this sort of doesn't surprise me. Obviously, the softer tyre compound is going to come in a lot quicker, isn't it? You're going to have a lot more additional bite on entry and a lot less understeer, for example, and especially around a circuit like this with long corners and hairpins. Traction is going to be pretty much everything and really key. So yeah, a massive difference between the two compounds.
There is indeed. Barry Bouremond has taken the top spot in Q1. Donoso goes P2, and we're seeing some improvements out there. Jarno Otmir, who looked pretty decent at the start, is now down in 10th position with a 1:30.341. His teammate Danny Moreno's just slotted in ahead of him. So both the Mercedes, have we jinxed them slightly here, Tom, with saying how good they're looking? Down in 9th and 10th at the moment, they might have to go again.
Yeah, well, that experience is needed now. That's the point I'm making about Mercedes. There will be moments of trials and tribulations that they're going to go through stuff. They're probably weirded out by Ferrari waiting so long. There'll be lots of things going through their mind, but now they get to show that experience and believe in themselves. And then Cedric Thome down at the bottom. This is his time to shine. Oh yeah, I've been waiting on that one. That's
what the notepad's full of, isn't it?
It's just puns. I've got loads of them.
Absolutely. So interestingly, we just saw David Tunitsa go second. He's now 18th. So that just shows the improvement out there is enormous. And we've got some team radio, actually, from Lucas Blakely, who was on the front row for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
The traffic is a joke, man.
Yeah, there's a load of cars for Eddie as well.
I didn't hear a word of that, so hopefully he didn't say something insightful, or he was saying about traffic.
Yeah.
So traffic problems, Nick, 20 cars out there at the moment. China's not exactly the most congested of tracks, would you say? It's quite long, you've got long straights, but still traffic problems.
Yeah, it just seemed the last sector, didn't it? For the long back straight, everybody trying to bunch up, find a little bit of space. But they've got 3 minutes left. They're going to run in, grab a set of boots and jump straight back out again would be my guess, because no one is safe, I don't think.
So if you're Barry Bouremond, Fabrizio Donoso, Freddie Rasmussen, do you take the risk here? Save a set of softs. Don't bother going out again. You're right at the top of the pecking order. Like, where you've got to think about when the cut-off point is for people risking it, because you do want to take an extra set of softs, if maybe for Q2, maybe for Q3. It's an interesting debate.
Yeah, I would say probably the cutoff's going to be a 30.3, isn't it?
Love it.
Really.
Straight out the block.
I think that's going to be a cutoff.
What do you think the cutoff's going to be, Tom? Throw a time out there.
Nick knows a lot more than I do. He's saying a 30.3. If I think about it, 30.2, I think something around that, yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
30.2 would be some big improvements out there. So that would be around 8th position. I think, yeah, 30.3 looks like the sort of cut-off. Depends how quickly, but as I said, track evolution, it will get quicker out there. So we should, in theory, see a 130 flat from these drivers. But let's see. Joni Tormola's out there on his outlap. Who is going to come out the pits for another lap? Right now, Caraton, Van Erven, Idowu. No, Idowu's still in the pits, sorry. Tormola's out there. Blakely's just gone out. And Simon Weigang, who's up in P5, wants to secure his spot into Q2.
Yeah.
But will we see it from the top 4? It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I like, as I mentioned last year with Simon Weigang, Alfa Romeo said to him, do you want to be in my gang? Weigang, and off he went, packed his bags, and there he was, Alfa Romeo. He got a lot of pressure on him because Alfa Romeo obviously losing Jarno Opmeer and Danny Berezny, who's not even racing at the moment, if you've just joined us. Danny Berezny is not racing. He has had the most starts in this Pro Championship, and with the likes of Brendan Lee. But yeah, I think he's doing really well, and I'm expecting big things from him.
So there you go. That's the answer to my question. Longuet, Donoso and Buraman don't go out of the pits. They're saving a set of soft tyres. Freddie Rasmussen has decided he is going to go out there, at least on an outlap. We might see it. We see it in real-life Formula 1, where a driver will go for a flying lap right at the end of Q1, Q2, and then abort it if they know that they're safe. Maybe that's what Freddie Rasmussen, Weigang, Sebastian Job will do. Depends how much they're improving out there. Remember, only the bottom 5 drop out of Q1. So right now that's Van Erven, Brendan Lee, David Tanitsa, Philippe Schneider and Cedric Tomei. Who is it going to be? 33 seconds to go. The last flying laps of Q1 are just beginning, Nick.
Yeah, so this matters, doesn't it, for all the rest of the drivers that are on the circuit now. Getting turn 1 done, looking pretty good there for Van Erven. He's got quite a bit of time to find on this lap if he wants to get through. Well, about a tenth, just over a tenth, just to get into P15. But I do believe that the cutoff is going to be a little bit quicker. I've got a lot of belief in these drivers. Yep. Their last lap is always faster. So it's looking like a decent. You've got the sector times.
I do.
There, Matt. How are we getting on? How is Van Erven getting on?
So Van Erven has improved by 41 thousandths of a second in the first sector on his PB. So he is improving out there, but a lot of green sectors are flying up as well. You can see right in the top right-hand side of the corner, it just said just over a tenth of a second is Van Erven improving. So that will get him into the top 15, but there are improvements out there as well. We've got Brendan Lee improving out there, but not a first sector to really write home about. Blakely has set the fastest first sector of anybody out there at the moment with a 23.760, improving in the middle sector as well. Blakely should, if he has a decent last sector, pop right to the top of the timesheets. Van Erven, though, is looking, well, he is improving in the middle sector as well, but behind him, Lee and Presneda are going quicker. This is going to be very close indeed. Oh, he loses the back end through the final corner, the exit curve disturbing him, and he's only going to improve by 8 thousandths of a second. Van Erven does not make it through to Q2. Joni Tormola improves to P8. And then who else have we got out there right now? Lucas Blakely, I did mention he is setting some sectors alight out there. Where does he go? He goes all the way to P3 in Q1. That's a decent lap time. Brendan Lee, the two-time champ, round the final corner. Can he make it out of Q1? He's going to head to the line now, and it's going to be P12 for Brendan Lee. It's not exactly the most convincing, but it is currently through to Q2. Who's on the cusp? Romanidis is currently on the cusp. David Tanitsa putting all the pressure on his shoulders. How is his lap looking at the moment? It's not looking brilliant, but it might just get him through. A bit of squirrel round the final corner as well. Tanitsa over the line. He goes P11. Make that P12 as Idowu goes fastest. Cedric Tomei, can he make it out of Q1? No, he cannot. He improves by 1.7 seconds, but invalidated his lap time. And there you go. One last lap to go for Daniele Haddad. Is he improving out there? He is indeed. I'm seeing some green sectors, but is it enough? Well, it doesn't matter because he's in P15. No one's improving out there, but he goes to P5. That's a very nice lap time from Haddad. So it's Caraton, Romanidis, Presneda, Van Erven and Tomei. Q1 exitees.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Williams team, and I was going to say when you were just getting me hyped and tense, there was a definite vibe there, Matt. But Williams, I was thinking they are not safe here. Both drivers going out in Q1, they will be incredibly disappointed from that perspective, and that just gives them so much more to do when we actually come to race time.
It does. We've seen it as a running trend, haven't we, in F1 Esports, where if you don't qualify well, you have got a mountain to climb because it's so close between them. Overtaking's difficult.
Yeah, and especially, I would say, since I've been watching F1 Esports a lot, they don't make many mistakes, you know. So as a driver following, you know, from behind, you're always trying to get the other driver to make a mistake, but they don't collapse under pressure. So you know, having a bad qualifying, it doesn't mean you're going to come through in the race. So you know, this is why today and sorry, these qualifying shows, my show, is so important.
Wow, you're really labelling it, huh?
And it's so much fun because I think we are not just race time, but we're seeing a bit more of that mental aspect of like what we can't see what the drivers are going through. We can't necessarily see all of their setup, but what we can see is those times and going back out. And yeah, I think pressure maybe got to a few of those drivers out there. But you know, Van Erven, one of those rookie drivers, he'll learn from this. And there you go, we're seeing him on the screen now.
Let's take a look who has been eliminated from Q1 since clarification. Karaton, Romanidis, Presneda, Van Erven and Tomei. I have to say the probably big scout there is Karaton, and both Williams and both Haas out in Q1. Karaton, we saw some brilliant performances from him. I think it was Austria last year where he really did shine. But it just shows. I mean, we were less than 2/10 away from the fastest time in Q1, and there is Alvaro. He has changed his camera angle since last time. He's got a lovely little backdrop rather than his bed.
I just want to ask, what was the cut-off time?
30.3, I believe it was. So you've smashed it. Interesting. Tom was a little bit too trusting in our F1 Esports drivers to order a point to. But...
Yeah, but you know, I show willing and
you had to go
I show
different, didn't you? You
support.
couldn't go the same.
I want to be positive this year.
You want to be your own person.
Yeah, because last year I was being told that I'm just digging drivers out a few times, and I'm not. I'm not about that, but that's poor from Haas and Williams.
Wow. Okay.
Ouch.
And that's coming from Haas's biggest fan.
I know. You know, and Philip Schneider moving teams from FDA Hula to Alfa Romeo. I think they're giving themselves too much to do. But hey, we know you're talking about 30.3, how tight of a margin it is, and they'll come back bouncing in the race. I know it. I know it for a fact.
Know it for a fact. So we will see if that becomes true later on this evening. Q2 is underway. We're going to see who is going to make it through. So right now we have soft tyres immediately for Barry Burramund. So coming through this very difficult right-hander, which I think I showed incredibly in the Gallagher's Guide. It's very difficult on traction, Nick. You have to have that patience to know exactly when the right moment is that the car's not going to unsettle with those rear tyres.
Yeah, and especially because once you commit to throttle, you can't lift. Because if you lift, it's going to cost you time. Because this is, as you said in your Gallagher's Guide, that is, you know, it's one of the longest straights on the calendar. So one slight lift and you're going to lose all that momentum all the way down the straight.
You know, I always look at the big picture, Matt, Nick.
Always.
You know, I look at the big picture. I'm all about that, right? Barry Burramund, at what point, I mean, we knew how good he was. He was sitting there on Mercedes team, wasn't used. Now he gets to prove himself in McLaren. I just love that as a storyline for this year. And someone like Danny Moreno, who almost like is moved now to Mercedes. They kind of that little link there. Who's going to perform better? So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Barry.
It must feel good as well, you know. It must be quite difficult to be left on the sidelines for the majority of the season, not being able to showcase your talents to other teams, to the viewers. All the hard work isn't really shown because, you know, that third driver is still very important to the team effort. But unfortunately, it's only the drivers that are racing in the races that get the limelight. Yeah,
we don't see that. And then when you get an opportunity, you've got to take it. And someone like Barry is going to do exactly that. And that's what I love to see. I'm not saying he's an underdog in any way, shape or form, but he gets his opportunity to really be one of the top dogs.
And he's deserved it as well. You know, we saw him around Spain last year, where he showed some really good pace. It wasn't for the proper series, but it was, you know, one of the exhibition races that we do. And he was really quick then. You know, I think he took pole position. And, you know, some of the drivers were kind of kicking off, speaking about track limits and all this, that and the other. But, you know, some of that is being threatened as well. You know, he was a new agent then and, you know, could be signed by any team. And here he is, driving for McLaren Shadow. He's through to Q2, and he's about to set his first lap time, which is 30.5. which isn't quite setting the lap times alight, but that's okay because the track hasn't evolved to its final state yet in Q2, because 30.5 wouldn't have made you through Q1.
No, they're definitely on the same set of tyres as they ran in Q1 as well. So they're going to be dropping, a couple of tenths on these old sets of tyres. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Tornitzer and Brendan Lee maybe go something different, because obviously we saw them go in a different technique and a different strategy for Q1.
In also, just noticing now in my head, this nuggin of knowledge, which I've never said before, is about...
Noggin or noggin?
Nuggin.
Noggin.
Noggin?
I thought it's a noggin.
It's a noggin.
Yeah. Nuggin. Noggin.
Nuggin's not a word.
Well, I'm calling it today nuggin, right? This little nuggin, which is exactly proving my point that it's not that knowledgeable, is the fact that Danny Moreno, we're just talking about McLaren and Barry Borroman, who's got that opportunity. Danny Moreno had exactly the same at McLaren, now moved to Mercedes. And I want to ask Nick this, do you feel the pressure a bit more? You moved to a new team because they've said, you were brilliant last year, you won the EOs. Yoyers. You won that.
End of year awards for people that didn't see that part.
Yeah. You won that. We want a slice of that pie. Come to our team. Does it put a bit more pressure for him to deliver again, or?
Can you just answer my question of what driver we were talking about?
Danny Moreno. So he was at McLaren last year.
Yes, he was indeed. Very, very strong.
And we loved him. We were just putting up performances because I guess the pressure wasn't on him. In the same way that I'm saying Barry Borroman has got that, like, no one's expecting him to be lights out, but he'll be able to show his talent. And now, do you think that Danny Moreno's got more pressure on him because you did so well last year? No one was expecting that. Hey, we're signing you because you can deliver again.
It's a very good question, to be fair, Tom. I mean, obviously, Danny Moreno just came in fresh last year, looking really strong, doing a fantastic job for McLaren. And that's pretty much earned his seat with Mercedes, hasn't it, really? Mercedes had a very good lineup already, and obviously there's been a few chop and changes. But yeah, I think not necessarily it's going to be pressure, but definitely something where I think Danny will want to start, winning some races for Mercedes and almost, starting where he left off last year with McLaren.
And it's kind of like Matt in many respects. Last year no one expected anything of the quali show, but he came out, guns blazing, he was fantastic. And do you think there's more pressure on him now to match up to your level, Nick?
Yeah, for sure. Not everyone is really naturally gifted and talented.
Well, you can learn it though, can't you?
For sure, but there's only so much I can do.
Hey, you're already lifting enough.
I know. I feel like I've got the whole weight on my shoulders here, but anyway, hi Matt.
I'm just understanding the strategy that Tom Deacon's taking this year, where he goes on the offensive, so that we don't, attack him and insult him. He just
the best defense is offense.
Yeah, because you learn. That's the point. You learn from last year. I was shocked. I was caught blindsided by you two. And this year, this notebook is just comebacks against both of you.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So it's great to have you on, Tom. You'll be gone soon for Alex Jakes.
But I mean, it's hard to take you seriously with the notebook when your notebook is bright pink.
I think we've learnt a lot. It's 2021. I think colour doesn't really mean anything. I mean, I think what you're implying there, Nick, is this I won't lose. That's
you
what
could have
it is.
taken the massive sheets of paper out there and made it look a little bit more professional.
No, because
your rucksack at
no, because I didn't read the run through of everything, and I needed to know the lineup. So I'm prepared and underprepared.
Okay, enough about you, Tom. Let's talk about Q2. Gianna Otmir's currently midway through his lap time on the soft tyres, and he's going to be a 50.9 through the middle sector. And well, we don't have too much to really compare it to at the moment. As Nick says, we would have seen some older soft tyres on the likes of Boromand, Rasmussen and Adowu. And now we're finally going to see some lap times out there shortly. Gianna Otmir, I really did think that Mercedes lineup was going to be almost unstoppable. But after round one, the qualifying that we saw there, maybe slight doubt, like, okay, this is very much open, because you look at those two on paper from last year and you go, well, who's really going to beat them? Maybe Ferrari. But they've not really been able to show up in Bahrain at the very least. Jarno goes fastest with a 30.4, but that's still not on the cut-off of Q1, Nick. So I feel like the track hasn't ramped up, and maybe the likes of Burroman, Rasmussen and Otmir have maybe gone for a lap.
Maybe they have. I mean, I don't think they've dropped off by by 4/10.
Yeah. Well, Brendan's gone fastest with a 30.1.
Yeah.
Tanitsa does a 30.0, so that would probably suggest that, yes, those tyres are not quite brand spanking new.
Yeah.
Kiefer goes fourth with a 30.471. So what's the thinking there, Nick? Because the strategy, again, from FDA Hublot, go early. Put in a 30.0, 30.1. It's the opposite of what they did in Q1. But would you say that maybe they've gone too early with the fact that the track is constantly ramping up because everybody else seems to be going out on older soft tyres?
No, not necessarily. I think now is probably the time, because also they've given themselves a bit of leeway just in case they do make a mistake, even though I know these guys are aliens and they don't make a single mistake. Technically. But you know, you never know. So they've given themselves a little bit of time just in case. So it could be, you know, too early. But we'll just have to wait and see. You're the one with the iPad. Give us the sector times, Matthew.
I would love to if it updated. Buremund is P2 with a 30.1. That's something that definitely is coming up on my screen. Rasmussen has the fastest first sector on his 30.3. And here we are. He is starting his first sector once again on a brand new flying lap time. And does he pick up any sort of slipstream? No, he does not. The McLaren gets out of the way. How does he look through the first sector? Rasmussen, 23.9. So 10th and a half off the fastest we've seen through that first sector. So not ideal at all, because you're cutting it pretty fine after this for Freddie Rasmussen to set his lap time, do his in-lap, go out, have an out-lap. I don't know if he's going to have enough time, but we will see. I'm sure the Red Bull team has got much better timing than maybe what I do as an amateur.
No, stop putting yourself down, Matt. I'm not having it.
That's the way I'm going with it. You know, I'm going for sympathy now because I know that you're...
Gallagher's guide was excellent.
Anyway, Rasmussen's 3.5 tenths down, so he is going to be coming into the pits here. Really appreciate the compliments, Tom. Really loving it.
Which would you prefer?
When is Alex Jakes on?
Compliments or no compliments? He gets very serious. Talking of aliens, is it called an unofficial sighting? You know the technical term for aliens. You mentioned aliens earlier on, because you don't have to have an official sighting, because when they get to the proper alien that we know that they can do, I was just wondering the terminology. Is it unofficial sighting or official sighting? What do we say if you see an alien? I've lost you there.
Am I in some sort of pipe dream?
Yes, you are.
What even is this conversation?
It's because I said they were aliens.
Yeah.
And you said technical term. Now Tom's tried to take that one step further.
It didn't need it. But,
what I do brilliantly is just fill that time waiting for Sebastian to judge.
So unofficial sighting.
This is what I do. They're all in the pits. We can't do anything. We just have to sit back, relax and wait. I thought your Gallagher's guide was fantastic. I was being a little bit harsh earlier on, saying that you've learnt from Nick.
Oh, no, that's fine. Nick,
no, but
Nick,
you know, the quali show...
Nick's already putting his flag up to say that this is his show. But in 2 weeks' time, we will probably have a flag up there. So that's it. It's great to have Nick, although he's not here tomorrow, so, you know.
What?
Yeah.
No, mate.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's trying to say it's his show. Well, who's going to do it tomorrow, then, if it's your show?
I'm sorry?
Who's going to do it tomorrow if it's your show?
I'm going to sub you in.
Oh, thanks, Coach. So it's quite interesting how we've had different sort of breaks in action to last year, where it'd usually be a frantic end, but we've got 2 minutes 35 and a lot of them are still in the pit lane. We have Jarno Watmere on an outlap, as Joni Tormela as well, but we're going to maybe see some complaints about traffic at the latter stages of this session, Nick.
Yeah, I think with 2 minutes to go, obviously it's going to be frantic, definitely 1,000%, and there might be a few drivers getting in the way of other drivers, especially into that final sector, because here exit speed out of the last corner is so important, and maybe they'll be able to grab just a tiny toe as well without being too close, so they don't
still tiny toe, not a big toe.
A tiny toe, like a small toe.
Little one, just little, like 6 seconds away sort of thing. You know?
Yeah.
Fair.
Everyone forgets the middle toes, don't they? You've got the big toe, little toe, but no one talks about what are the names for those. Sorry, I'm just getting...
You're using your entire notepad up of conversation starters, aren't you?
I was just dipping my whatever the middle toe was in.
OK, well, fortunately for the viewers, we are about to start flying laps, so we don't have to listen to whatever's just been going on for the last minute, as Jarno Watmere is currently weaving his Mercedes in a straight line. So he's basically trying to get his tyres in the optimum working temperature. So you'll see a lot of onboards of these guys when they're Twitch streaming, etc. They will constantly monitor what the temperature is of their tyres to make sure they don't overheat them, and then they'll just start sliding around. If they're under temperature, they'll also not provide optimum grip. And Jarno Opmeer, the reigning champ, I'm sure, is right in the window of where he needs to be. Coming into the first corner, the longest corner you can possibly wish for, and it is so irritating, isn't it? It just feels like it goes on forever. Then finally you get the car in. You just have to make sure it doesn't wash out.
Yeah, it does go on forever. I always find it quite difficult to judge, you know, the apex there, because it's so late, isn't it? And traction is so difficult through there. Braking into that right-hander, which we've just seen, is really difficult as well. And this high-speed left-hander of the car always wants to push out wide. You want to make sure you're in the right line, in the right place for this right-hander, and then this left-hander follows so fast, and traction here is so important. You can see how Opmeer short-shifted to fifth to maximise that traction, and then heavy braking into this left, and then the long right, which is where you have to be patient, don't you, Matt? As you have so rightly said in Matt Gallagher's guide, to make sure that we get fantastic straight line speed down here. And it's all about, as well, the downforce and how much Opmeer will be using at this point, and then just have a bit of a rest and then spot your braking point. Heavy braking. Oh, just missed his apex in the final stages of the right-hander, and then sling it into the left-hand corner and make sure you don't get done for track limits. And where does that put Opmeer? P4.
That's Opmeer P4, which could be on the cusp here. Yanni Tormler does a 29.9. I think Opmeer's mistake there at the hairpin may well cost him, as we have a lot of improvements currently out there at the moment. Lucas Blakely we're riding on board with. He's currently P11, but hasn't really set a representative lap time at the moment. He's got Brendan Lee in the Ferrari ahead of him, who's currently in P6. Lucas a lot better through that hairpin than Jarno Opmeer. Round the final corner, you don't want to extend or anything like that and lose the back end. He does a little bit. What does Lucas Blakely do? He does a 30.0, and all of a sudden Jarno Opmeer's down to 7th, and we've got so many more improvements out there. Opmeer down to 8th now. Make that 9th as Moreno and Vigan go 6th and 7th. Marcel Kiefer is currently 12th. Longue's now on the cusp as well, P10. Make that 11th, so he is out, is Longue. Opmeer on the cusp as well. He is not going to make it through to Q3 either, as Marcel Kiefer goes P3. Barry Burreman does a 29.9 to take the fastest lap in Q2. Where does Freddie Rasmussen go? He goes fastest. So his teammate is currently in P5. Here's Daniele Haddad. He goes 9th. And that is a big scalp for Vigang. Can Donoso get through? Let's see. He comes over the line, and he is going to slot in P, can't see, 12, it says here. So he does not improve, although unless this hasn't updated my iPad. But either way, Opmeer's out, Longue's out. And there you go. It's Moreno, Vigang, Job, Opmeer, and Longue. So we did see an improvement. And that is the top 10. Wow, that was frantic stuff right at the end. Less than 0.2 of a second covering the top 10. And that is this what F1 Esports Series Pro Championship 2021 is going to look like?
Yeah, maybe. And Aston Martin guys, Daniele Haddad and Lucas Blakely making it to Q2. That did not happen last season. That's great to see. And I've been working on a pun the whole time. It wasn't Jarno Opmeer.
Sorry?
Yeah, it wasn't Opmeer. Can we have that?
You're really going to end your stint in the show with that?
Yeah, because Alex Jason's coming on. He's much better. So what I was doing is setting the bar. I was leaving something in the room. That's what we call it in the world of stand-up comedy. I'm leaving something in the room for the next person.
No. Why don't you just leave the room?
Not yet. We haven't given you the all clear yet. But Nick is on Savage. It is the first show of the season. Tom is in some real trouble. Let's talk about Q2 and what just happened whilst we keep sliding down the sofa. Opmeer, reigning champ, out. Longue, who was pole position for Bahrain, out in Q2 and 15th. That's huge.
Well, it's what Nick wanted. Nick didn't want Nicolas Longue to perform as well because we like it. We like it when a new driver comes to the top.
I didn't say that, though, did I?
No, but you were implied...
Didn't say I don't want him to perform as well.
Oh.
I just wanted to say that it'd be good to see, not necessarily him struggle or people struggle, but, you know, for new people coming to the top, like Burreman, for example, doing a fantastic job because it keeps the championship exciting, doesn't it? It's only round 2.
Yeah, amen to that. That's what I was getting at. Eventually, I was basically saying Nick asked for it, it's happened. So what Nick wants, he gets.
Because it's my show.
Until tomorrow, when you're not here. And to be fair, you've probably jinxed Longuet as well, because you said you wanted him to get pole again, and he's 15th. Let's take a look at the eliminated drivers from Q2. And it's Moreno, Weigang, Job, Ockmere and Longuet that we say goodbye to, as well as Mr. Tom Deacon, who will be exiting for Q3, where we get a proper commentator in the form of Alex Jakes. But that is huge. Moreno as well. You didn't really get to absorb all of that as it was all kicking off. But Tom, thank you so much for joining us, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, Tom.
No, it has. I've commented, but not to your level yet. But I'll be back tomorrow.
That's what I mean. You said commented rather than commentated, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, but I've commented on stuff.
Okay.
And that's been happening, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you have as well. And I can't wait to watch Alex Jakes.
I love how you actually address down camera. Thank you to
Always.
the viewers, everybody. Thanks so much, Tom. See you
Bye.
later for
Bye,
the evening
Tom.
show. Bye. There goes Tom Deacon. How did you find that? Was that excruciating or?
Yeah, stressful. It was stressful.
Amazing. Shall we introduce our next guest on the Quali Show? I think we should. It's Mr. Alex Jakes, my commentator, partner in crime. Here he is with... Wow. Did Tom take the last proper mug?
Yeah, it's the last one. I went to check, opened up the door. I was like, it's mug time. No, it's not. So
See, the difference is Tom got his mug delivered.
he did. He has been here from the start. But guys, can I just say what a privilege it is to be on your show now? I mean, it's genuinely,
Thank you, Alex.
honestly brilliant to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you too. I'm glad that you've set the tone, Alex, with that. How are you, mate? Are you looking forward to the new season?
Genuinely can't wait for this season, but I thoroughly enjoyed the surrealist nonsense that Tom Deacon just put on the board for Q1 and Q2. I mean, the man's a genius.
It was almost relief seeing that you weren't holding a pink notepad, which I'm thinking is where he got all of his lines
he comes
from.
prepared, but he did ask to see the grid so he could write puns.
Yeah.
So he's a man that does, a little bit of prep, and then he dumps that prep all over your qualifying
here
show.
we go. This is going to be a running thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did you make of Q1 and Q2, Alex? I saw you watching in the wings intently.
Yeah,
Q2 was
contractually,
big.
I have to do that. So, well, let me tell you that it's unbelievably close, it's unbelievably varied, and we thought last year, sometimes, I'm going to share a little bit with you, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated that we'd get deep into the season and we'd talk it up, and then the same characters would be at the front. Not this year at all. It is a proper battle, and thank goodness, because you've got to turn up every single session.
You do indeed. They have turned up for this session as well, as you can see on the screen, but they've not gone out yet, hence why we are still chatting. So it's going to be another rush at the end of this session. We've got 8 minutes and 8 seconds remaining, so not a huge amount of time.
I mean, this is vintage Tom Deacon territory, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I wonder,
He'd probably be
does he
doing an
still have the
impression
notepad?
or going through his, back catalogues.
I mean, you're a commentator. You feel a lot through red flags and stuff like that.
Well,
what would you do in this particular moment?
We filled a red flag once in, where was it? Was it
Voluntary
Russia?
Russia,
And it went
yeah.
on Austria.
And Austria as well, yeah.
A couple of years ago, and I'd packed my bag because it was the end of the day. It was a Formula 2 race, and I was like, you know what? It's over. We're not possibly going to do a race in the dark.
It was about the sixth delay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, we'll let you know in 10 minutes' time.
And it just kept reading it off the screen, and it's like, OK, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning. And they were like, race begins in 5 minutes. And you're like, it's an hour-long race. What? We've got to do it for... It's getting dark out there. What are you talking about? So the answer to your question is what I just did.
Yeah.
It's taking you through to the magic. Thank goodness we've gone full screen. Hey, the magical team here have decided that was enough. And that is how you fill.
That's why you earned the
was
big
impressive.
bucks, Mr. Jakes. That was beautiful stuff. I was mesmerised by what you were saying, and then I realised right at the end what you were doing. OK, 7 minutes to go in Q3, and we have a couple, 4 drivers out there. Donoso, Buramand, a few more coming out as well. Tormlet, Adowu, Lee, and Blakely. And we're not seeing any difference in strategies or running plans with the FDA Hublot team this time. Both Lee and Tanitsa out on track. Who's getting pole, Nick?
Wow.
Yeah, dropped that one on you, didn't I? Or how's your show?
I'm going to go Burmond.
Pole. Alex Jakes?
Tormula.
And I'm going to go with Blakely.
Nice.
Let's see if any of us are right. But with
I
the
doubt
fact that it's quite a lottery so far in this qualifying that we've seen so far, that it could be any of these top 10, especially with how close it is right at the top. Brendan Lee riding on board with him right now. You can see how tentatively they're taking this lap around that long right-hander that we were speaking. They don't want to be putting any sort of pressure through the tyres doing it.
Not at all. I've got a minimal amount of experience on F1, and you realise a slight movement of the steering wheel, a bit too much on your warm-up lap, and it takes energy out of the tyres straight away.
Right, Alex Jakes, earn your money. Yoni Tormala doing a lap.
Yes, he is. He's attacking this fantastic circuit. And you've talked about how long it is. Look at how long it is. I'm still describing how long it is. Still, he's turning the wheel. He's trying not to take all the energy out of the tyres because you've got to go through all 3 sectors of the lap. And this soft rubber all the way through the radius of that corner, screaming out, looking for a rest. It doesn't get it. Now it can cool down because we're heading nice. And it's not straight, but it's basically straight. It's not a problem. Then you haul on the anchors for the hairpin, which you expertly hit the apex of. Whoever edited that, world class, magnificent. Right, and Tormala now through the sweepers, and this is where you really have to be precise. This is where you can make the difference. Because what have we seen earlier in this qualifying hour? That it's coming down to tenths of a second. So the hundredths, the thousandths are going to be the difference you would expect with the standard of driving that we've seen so far today. And it means that every single time you dip 2 wheels off the racetrack, it's got to be 2 wheels, not 4 wheels. You can't extend, you can't get the time deleted. Are you nailing it at that point? We saw the Ferraris were scrubbing through the chicane there, and we go onto the long back straight, kilometre long now. Not much to do, really. Gives us time for Matt to pick up the iPad and look at the sector times, no less.
Oh, you saw it. You saw it. And currently the fastest first sector goes to David Tanitsa out there at the moment, but it's very, very close. He does a 0.8 in the first sector, and to put it into perspective, there's another 5 drivers with a 0.8 in that first sector. The fastest middle sector goes to Brendan Lee. No, scrap that. It's Tanitsa again. Tanitsa is flying out there. We're going to see Tormala come over the line. That's going to be a mediocre lap, to say the least. That will probably, most likely, definitely be a scrubbed set of soft tyres. Brendan Lee, though, Alex, his teammate out there looking very strong.
Interested in the tactics here. Do you push on this lap? Do you wait to be the last over the line? Should be the fastest time any second now.
Track limits.
Track limits. So Donoso's gone quicker, former runner-up in the championship, has gone quicker. Barry Bormond, and these times not electric at the moment as the second McLaren slots in. Lucas Blakely is P3 then across the line. David Tanitsa now, a 1:30.2. He's able to maintain that speed all the way through. Tell you what, the Red Bulls are excellent around here. Freddie Rasmussen looking to go up over the line. His teammates just put it in 6th position. We now go on board with him, and he's P4 right now. Wow. Lee and Haddad. So Lee getting pinged for track limits, and Daniele Haddad has gone up into 7th.
So interestingly, they're leaving it to the very last second in Q3 because we've only got 3 minutes and 8 seconds to go. And Freddie Rasmussen has just popped in a 30.6, which is nowhere. We've just seen 29.9s in Q2. Yeah. So these drivers have pretty much measured it to the second to come into the pits, change the tyres and go out again, because you can't imagine that a 30.2 is going to be pole and we've got 7 tenths between the top 9. Like, this is going to come right down to the wire. Brendan Lee is not going to get enough time. This has to be the lap for Brendan Lee. So how is he doing out there? I don't think he's on any sort of flying lap at all. He's only got 10 seconds to get to the line. So I wonder if he's made a mistake and is going to have to go again on these soft tyres, although he may have enough time if he pits now. This was a flying lap because you can see on the top right-hand side of the screen there is a lap time. So I wonder, does he dive straight into the pits? He does indeed. So he will just get about enough time to be wheeled back into the pits, select some new tyres, and out he goes again.
He literally only has like 20 seconds to change his tyres and get back out. Don't forget, down the pit lane as well, we've got pit lane speed limiter, so he's really got to be fast, because then he's got to have a decent enough outlap to get across the line, but he might not have enough time to go at his usual outlap pace. So he might end up taking a bit of life out of his tyres before the start of the lap.
Absolutely. So we're taking a look at the FDA team. Apologies, I was using a different name. They are just known as the FDA team this season. And 1 minute and 32 seconds remaining. So why are they all still in the pits? That's my question. Any answers?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Because that's not going to be enough time to get round and start a lap time. So
and absolutely nobody is now out. This is
I know we could try and sound like we know exactly what we're talking about here, but with 1 minute and 7 seconds remaining, absolutely nobody is out there setting a lap time. So right now, Tanitsa is on pole position ahead of Donoso, Burremand, Rasmussen, Blakely, the top 5, then Adowu, Haddad, Kiefer, Tormala and Brendan Lee. Have we...
It's now like a ghost town in the pit lane.
Hopefully I'll hear in my ear if there's a reason as to why nobody is out there with flying lap times. Perhaps that timer is slightly out of sync. That's maybe something that I want to say is the answer, because I can't imagine none of these drivers have gone out on a fresh set of soft tyres. Hey, Alex.
Yeah. I was trying to work out what was going on in the time that we had, but...
OK, so I'm hearing on my ear that timer is out of sync. An outlap does not take 20 seconds. So we shall see one more flying lap from everyone.
Right.
Otherwise, that would have been a very anticlimactic final part of the
So how
session.
far are we out of sync here, Matt?
I would love to tell you.
Come on,
I
Matt.
would love to tell you, because my iPad is saying 5 seconds to go. So we will see. But right now, we have 4 drivers on an outlap. It says 0 seconds remaining, but I'm being told, and I'm imagining the drivers know better than we do, and perhaps what the graphic says as to how long is left. So Brendan Lee has no time set. So that would be a massive blunder for FDA if that was the case. So we currently have Tanitsa first and Brendan Lee 10th. So a massive FDA sandwich.
Nice, nice. Yeah, strange one with the time. Anyway, let's ignore the time.
2 minutes to go. I've just heard in my ear. 2 minutes to go.
Perfect. OK, so it's exactly what you'd expect. I thought it was a little bit too precise.
I mean,
I was like, wow, they've upped it a level this year. They're
Noticed it,
doing
though. That's what I
nothing.
do on my show.
Oh, right.
I'm kidding.
When is that starting? Your show?
It was an hour ago, maybe.
Oh, OK.
Either way, thanks for coming on, Alex. Really appreciate it. I'm going to change this trend from the rest of the, shows.
I'm sure we'll have a production meeting tomorrow.
We will. Led by me.
We'll be back to normal. All right, so clock says that we're done, but we're not. We're getting ready for the final laps of the limit in this session. And if you're Brendan Lee,
1 minute 20 to go.
not much to really lose. They've spaced it nicely. They're not going to get in each other's way. And Barry Burremand, who had a fantastic first qualifying session of the year,
As
when
he
he managed
whips
to
out
put
his
it
qualifying sheet.
in third. Yeah, looking at the grid, opening day of the season. Don't be daft, mate. It's not all in there immediately. So he's on for a pair of P3s at the moment, but he wants that trip to the front row. A driver who's had one start in the Pro Championship before, and well, he is very much looking at home in that papaya McLaren, but the times that we've got on the board are, as you've used this word already, Matt, they're basically unrepresentative, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because we were expecting to head into the 29s here if you're going to claim pole position.
We should do. Currently, Burremand has set the fastest first sector we've seen. Brendan Lee has just toppled that with a 23.728, just a few thousandths of a second behind Burremand. So it's going to be very close between McLaren and FDA.
Have we got some personal bests on the iPad?
Sorry.
Have we got some personal bests going on the iPad at the moment?
So let me update you. Brendan Lee is still the fastest through the first sector, and we've seen Tanitsa, Burremand, Blakely, Idowu, Kiefer and Tormala all through there. Rasmussen sets the fastest first sector now with a 23.702. Burremand is the fastest through the middle if you compare him to Tormala and Lee, but we've still got times out there, and this will be very interesting to see what sort of benchmark Barry Burremand, who's known for being very quick in qualifying, where can he end up, Alex?
So it's a sea of improvement, basically, out there at the moment. But who's taking the speed all the way through the lap? We've focused on the McLaren driver, Barry Burremand, who takes the fastest time. That's a decent benchmark, 29.8. Will anyone else fancy their opportunity to go below that and to take pole position away? Brendan Lee doesn't have a time on the board. He won't worry about that. Can he get the final corner of this racetrack right? He can. Is it fast as he goes across the line? It takes him to the front row of the grid, but I think others can get into the 129s. If they can, they'll displace him. No, David Tanitsa can't do so. Lucas Blakely can, though, and he improves to the front row in his Aston Martin. Joshua Doe, a good lap, also in the 29s, good enough for P3. Now, the Red Bull pair, they're always going to threaten around this racetrack. We've seen it before. Marcel Kiefer to the front row. What about his teammate, though? Freddie Rasmussen just behind in P3. And Barry Burremand has Donoso and Haddad, who can take it away. The Alpine driver dipping down the hill to the line, and Donoso puts it P5. So there's one driver between Burremand and pole position. It's Haddad over the line, and Barry Burremand for the first time has taken pole in the Pro Championship. He's done the job for McLaren.
He has indeed. What a qualifying session. The resurgence of Red Bull back once again, P2 and P3 for Kiefer and Rasmussen. But look at that. That's Joni Tormela clearly must have extended track limits or made a mistake out there, didn't improve on his...
Third and fourth.
Yeah.
Identical lap times.
Wow.
And Rasmussen taking third because he set the time first. Unbelievable.
I don't think he did, though.
No, I don't think he did. But that is the rule.
Yeah.
It's the driver who said it first who keeps the time. No, you're right. Over the
Blakely
line,
definitely said it
Rasmussen
first.
was responding.
OK, so I wonder if that will stay the same way, but there is the provisional qualifying results. And fortunately, we did get a flurry of lap times at the end, a 29.843 for Barry Burraman. That was a stonking lap time, Nick.
It was indeed, Matt. Can you remember who you asked me for pole?
Here we go. There is...
Yes.
Barry, very happy indeed.
Proper celebration.
Pounding
that.
his
I love
chest.
that.
And then his lights go out. But he's very happy with that. That was a great lap from Barry. And as you say, you predicted it, Nick.
I called it. I could just see. He seemed very, very consistent. Sorry, I'm folding my arms like
no,
I own the place. I mean, I do. It's my show, but...
It's the quali show. Relax.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Take a seat.
I have taken a seat. I've been sitting down for a while. But no, he looked super confident, and every session he was right up there, wasn't he? And I just had this feeling. And I went with my gut, and it was right.
And it came true. Kiefer and Rasmussen right at the front as well, which is exactly what they want after Bahrain, which was probably a big disappointment, both not making it through to Q3.
Well, you could see in Bahrain how surprised they were. That's a team that knows how to churn out championships for fun. So they needed a response. They got a response, and they've not had that much time to turn it around between sessions. So good response from Red Bull, and those guys needed it because we're expecting them to be championship contenders.
And Blakely as well. Lucas Blakely really just coming through this year. We've seen moments of pace, but seems like he's got his head in the game for F1 2021.
Yeah, completely different, I would say now. Last season he seemed like he struggled. As you said, he had a lot of potential. We've seen him win pro exhibitions in the past before, so we know he's got the raw pace, but he just didn't really have the conviction, did he, last year? But I'm seeing him as a completely different driver so far.
Anyone else as a sort of interesting surprise, whether it be good or bad, from Q3 perhaps?
Well, I think in terms of the entire qualifying hour, Longuet to go from the front to the middle of the pack is a nightmare for him because it's consistency that takes you to the title. And as Nick talked about earlier on, when you've got pole position separated by 0.07 of a second, it's not going to be easy to carve your way through the field. So any dropping of the ball is going to heavily punish you when they dish out the points.
But how interesting is that going to be, seeing Longuet coming through the field and Opmir as well, right down there as well? Q2 was a huge sort of scalp hitter, wasn't it? It was massive for Opmir and Longuet because you want to be starting this championship off well, and that's not where you want to be starting the Chinese Grand Prix, where turn one in particular can get very tight when you get to the end of that right-hander. Exactly.
We're going to see, I think, Jan Opmir use the strategy, that alternate strategy that we're so used to seeing him over the years, maybe come into fruition here. Because he's going to have to do something different. I don't think this is a championship where you're going to be making moves straight away. Obviously, DRS is going to be quite effective down the long back straight. But yeah, I think strategy now comes into it, and I think Jan Opmir's sort of got to go back to almost the drawing board in terms of, right, how the hell am I going to pick it up from quite a bad qualifying?
It does indeed. I've just been delivered some cards. So there you go. One for you and one for Alex. They're top secret. But whilst you choose which one you want. Alex, how good is it to see qualifying back and how close the entire field is as well? It just every single year it improves and it seemed to get closer. I don't know how they managed to get closer, but they do.
Yeah, the margins are absolutely ridiculous. And it's skill, it's fine margin stuff, it's brilliant to see, and it set the tone for a great championship as well. So I'm delighted to have the card in my hand, delivered seamlessly. Nicely done, Nick. And yeah, I'm delighted to see the quality that we've got because it was high last year and it seems even more competitive this.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea how I'm supposed to give you all those cards without being seen on camera. Either way, we have someone waiting in the wings, and that's Barry Burraman. Barry, how are you feeling after your first ever pole position?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say hello to you and to everyone who are watching, every Iranian fans, to everyone, to the whole world. Yeah, it was like, because I knew, like in the first event as well, I knew I had the pace to get the pole, and unfortunately I made a mistake in my last run. And yeah, it is what it is, but I still P3. And then this race, I told the team, man, I'm just going to get that revenge from Bahrain. And then, yeah, I did. I'm just super happy. Can't describe how I'm feeling right now. It's just great. A lot of work I did, a lot of preparation to be there. And I'm just super happy. Just can't say how much and hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well.
Amazing. Even your internet connection seems really excited as it's jumping around. But how perfect was that lap, Barry? How can you just describe it for us?
To be honest, no, it was not my PB, but it was such a good lap for the actual session with a lot of pressure because I was to carry two set fresh off. But unfortunately, my Q2 lap wasn't really good enough, so I needed to improve it. And yeah, I think only 1/10 left, but it's still I'm super happy with that, and I will really take it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Barry, and good luck for the race later on.
Yeah, thank you much to you guys, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much, Barry, for that. It was great to hear from him, wasn't it? He seemed very excited indeed.
I mean, I would be if I got my first pole position in the F1 Pro Series Championship. It's been so close, hasn't it? All day, all session, and you can see that he's made mistakes in Bahrain, and he wanted to get his revenge, and he did.
Now, these cards, we have to now reveal them. We're going to start with overperformer. So, who would like to take the baton with that one?
Me.
OK, overperformer from qualifying. Then Nick, take us
I would
through.
say overperformer is definitely Barry Beaumont.
OK.
I did say that he was going to get pole position.
So it's not an overperformer in your eyes?
Not in my eyes, but I think generally for everybody watching, and maybe for himself as well, to come in fresh for McLaren. We were talking with Tom how he might be under pressure, but no, he seemed that he could soak it up pretty well, and pole position for him. Good job.
Amazing stuff. Alex, who performed as expected in your eyes?
Gonna go for Freddie Rasmussen. Yeah, we've come to expect a really high level from this man. He churns out wins and podiums for fun, but he doesn't have that elusive championship. You need to be consistent to get it. That is a lap that allows him to get his season up and running. And what a contrast in emotions from what we just saw from Barry Beaumont and ice cool Freddie Rasmussen, who did as well as expected.
Thank you so much for that, Alex. And I am going to do underperformer, who was, of course, Jarno Opmeer. I mean, that was a massive shock for us to see that, you know, the reigning champ, who we've expected so many incredibly consistent performances, which took him to the 2020 title. And that mistake that he made at the hairpin just before the last corner, I think he knew deep down he was in a bit of trouble, and then he just didn't make it through to Q3, and that's going to affect him quite significantly into the race.
Yes, is what I was saying, where strategy is now going to come into place, or into play. Is he going to use that alternate strategy, maximise as many laps as he can on a medium set of tyres, for example, and then come stronger towards the end of the race? We've seen, you know, many times he's done that. He did that here last year. Looked super strong, or last season, sorry. So yeah, let's see what happens. I think he's got a lot of work to do. It's going to be tough for him.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much to Nick, Alex, and to you watching at home. Let's take a look at what's coming up this evening. You don't have to wait long until we see the races around Bahrain and China at 7:30 p.m. BST. It's been an awesome qualifying session. It's been so close, and I can't wait to see exactly what's going to be unfolding later this evening, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.